Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD Starcraft, and I'm here to bring you guys another Heart of the Swarm broadcast. Allow me to go ahead and introduce the players in the bottom right hand corner of the Protoss map. Star Station, we have the Blue Zerg player Liquid Snute, and he's actually a new addition to Team Liquid, just joining the team this year in January. I'll talk a little bit more about him in a second. Let me go ahead and introduce his opponent. It is Nara from, I believe, Team Pulse Esports. And this is actually the same team, if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, but it is the same team that Hello Kitty is on, the Protoss player that I've been casting several games of lately. And so, very interesting here. We've got a Protoss versus Zerg, and both these guys apparently pretty friendly with each other, which is cool. And one thing I wanted to say about Snute here, I'm actually reading off the wonderful Wikipedia page, obviously. Snute is actually a player who really has an interesting way of combating against Protoss in Zerg versus Protoss. If there's a map where there are gold minerals, he's the kind of guy that likes to actually allow the natural to be blocked by a pylon, and then he just goes straight to the gold minerals, expands there, and then goes for an eco baneling bust. So thought that was an interesting little point to note here, that Snute has less than orthodox approach to Zerg versus Protoss. We'll see if it comes into play in this game. I don't think so, because Star Station doesn't really have gold minerals. I'm looking around right now, don't see any gold minerals, so we probably won't be seeing anything like that. On top of that, since it is a 4-player map, a lot of times Zergs are able to get the natural down before the probe can get over there and block it. But anyways, ZvP time, which is cool because I feel like this is the matchup that isn't a mirror matchup that I cast the least. Definitely mirror matchups are the ones I cast the least, but I'm gonna try to go ahead and do a couple more mirrors. If you guys have any great mirror games, feel free to send them in, HDreplays@gmail.com as usual. And let's see, we've already got the Overlord flying over this natural expansion. It is going to be scoping out the area. It will see the Nexus and the Forge. And interesting that he is building a Forge so quickly here. I guess, you know, a lot of times Protoss players, they can actually, you do want to get the Forge first as soon as the Nexus comes down, obviously, but a lot of times they can kind of play around with the way that their layout of the wall is. It looks like Nara here is going to almost fully seal it off and leave just one little open spot so that a Zealot can go ahead and blockade that, and he's probably going to go ahead and make one Photon Cannon here now that the Forge is done as well. So yeah, it looks like everything's pretty standard here, nothing too interesting. But I have been told that this replay does feature some pretty cool Zerg versus Protoss, and so I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this is going to go down. Quick third hatchery here from Liquid Snute. He's really going for a pretty quick one. That's going to be out there and exposed, but on this map you can expand pretty quickly as Zerg. The one thing is you got to get those creep tumors going down out to the front door as soon as possible. It's like laying out the welcome mat for your new outhouse or whatever it is. You want to definitely plow the way there and make sure you connect the bases. A couple of Zerglings here at the front, gonna try to see what they can do, but unfortunately there is a Photon Cannon back there, and with the positioning of the cannon, it's very unlikely that Snute will be able to run by and get any real scouting intel. Cybernetics core now is on the way, more drones being produced. You can see that Overlord is inbound, trying to get into the main base to figure out what is going on, but you know, usually at this point in the game there isn't much to see from a Protoss player until that Cybernetics core is complete, which it is warping in right now. Nara did actually scout the quick third, and Snute actually brings his queen out over to this expansion so that it's ready to drop the transfuse, not the transfuse, excuse me, the inject larva as soon as the hatch is done, so that's pretty cool. Doesn't have to wait for the queen to run out, but he will lose inject larva timing on this one unless he builds another queen. A couple of Zerglings here engaging the Zealot at the front door. Nara is actually producing a few more Zealots, and the first actual unit that could spell an offensive strike here is now out on the field, warping out of the Nexus. That is the Mothership Core, and she is here. So usually when Protoss players get a Mothership Core, they will go for an attack. You know, the core is just such a great unit overall. An aerial unit early game for the Protoss. It's basically one of the only air units that are allowed early that can still mobilize and attack. You know, out of all the races, Protoss is the ones that gets that in Heart of the Storm. So you can see here, Nara is going to go ahead and try to make a quick strike, but with 10 Zerglings and 3 queens on the way, I very much doubt this attack is going to be able to do any damage at all, but Nara is going to try. It looks like he's going to go for the drones first. It feels a few too many Zerglings here, though, and Time Warp Field is forced to come down. Of course, Protoss is not affected by the effects of time dilation. They've figured a way to circumvent physics. I don't know how. So it looks like Nara is going to go ahead and pull back there, which is fine. You know, he didn't take any serious damage. He didn't lose any units. And he was able to force Snute to make more, I think, Zerglings than he was comfortable making. And in fact, right now, Snute is a little supply blocked, which is interesting. I didn't think that he would allow himself to get quad blocked like that, but not quad blocked, but he is making 4 Overlords to clear the capacity. And a layer now is on the way. Zerg players nowadays in Zerg versus Protoss tend to get their layer a little bit later. They favor going for heavy drones and then start to get the layer around the 7-minute mark is what I've noticed. And we do have a Roach Warren now on the way, a couple of Spore Crawlers as well, because Snute is a little worried, I guess, about the possibility of an Oracle flyby. You know, Protoss are just so dangerous with Oracles these days, but in fact, Nara is going to be going for a robotics facility, not for air. And so everything actually looks quite standard. I will say that this was a game that was played on the public Battle.net servers. This is not like a tournament like the Team Story Cup or anything like that. But it was played on the public, you know, just in general servers, and people have said that it's a pretty good game. So we'll see what happens here. But the Zerglings, oh, nice force field right there. And those Zerglings are not really able to get much done, but their Roach brothers are on the way. There are 5 Roaches about to come out, along with, it looks like, +1 missile and Zergling speed. So we're going to see some type of Roach Zergling timing here. Very Wings of Liberty-esque, as Nara is also pushing out with a Sentry Immortal sort of timing. Very kind of Wings of Liberty-esque as well. This Immortal Sentry attack is designed to push, apply pressure, and it is also designed to withstand Zergling Roach. You know, force fields to keep the Zerglings away, Immortals to slay the Roaches. And the nice thing in Heart of the Swarm is, as Protoss, you can recall your whole army out if things get hairy, and you can see that Mass Recall is ready to go. Now, will he actually use it? He might have to. There's just too many forces here, although he's going to stay. Oh, very nice force fields, keeping most of the Zerg army away, and then utilizing just, you know, his sentries and his Immortals to slay the Zerglings that were surrounding him. That was amazing force field usage. But he's going to need more than force fields in order to deal with Snoot Swarm Hosts, which 6 are now on the way. Try saying that really fast. Snoot Swarm Host, Snoot Swarm Host, Snoot Swarm Host. I guess it's not that hard. But we do have Swarm Hosts on the way coming out from Snoot here. Did he go ahead and get the Evolve Enduring Locust? No, he didn't. It's very expensive. You know, at 200, it's not cheap. But you don't necessarily need it for Swarm Hosts to be effective. They can still be a huge threat just by themselves. And in fact, you know, Snute is going to need those Swarm Hosts just for defensive purposes, because this army from Nara is getting pretty big. What is this? A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gate robo. I mean, it's basically an all-in here from Nara, who's he's adding on a robotic support bay as well. So maybe it isn't super like I'm gonna end the game right now, but he's gonna try to get some Colossus out as well. I don't know, it's a little weird. Usually when you see a Protoss getting 7 gates on 2 bases and they've got a Robo Bay and they're pushing out like this, it typically means that they want to try to end the game on their terms, and they're trying to do it on a 2-base push. I'm surprised he's actually going for a robotic space, so I guess he's going to wait for Colossus to come out, but if you're going to do that, you better go for another expansion as well. So maybe Nara thinking about a transition, and he's actually coming in here with 2 Immortals inside the Sword Prism at the same time. Also, a bit of an engagement out here. These Storm Hosts need to get underground, but some Zerg units also need to come back home. As that, oh, Swarm Host just ate it. But yeah, some Zerg units are going to have to come back here and help defend. That is a pretty scary army, Immortals and Zealots. In the meantime, the front door is breached, of course. Nara just so smart, knowing that the Zerg army is split in 2 different directions, and knowing while this is going on, he can go ahead and attack the front door, but there are a lot of Swarm Hosts and Spine Crawlers still here. Meanwhile, the Immortals and the Zealots trying to hold the line, and not doing too bad of a job, but they are going to get taken out. I like how Snute focused on the Warp Prism so that the Protoss units would have no way to evacuate, and it looks like Nara just cannot bust through this Swarm Host grid, and he is going to be forced, I think, to pull back to his pylon. Now, like I said, guys, will he expand and try to transition? It looks like he will, and I had an inkling, you know, it's very hard to do 2 base, 7 gateway, robo, plus robotic support to try to go Colossus. It's just, you cannot afford the gas to do all of that. So I think Nara now is saying, okay, my attack did damage, but I need to transition. And I don't know if Nara did enough damage. That's a problem, because now Snute, I mean, he kept most of his Storm Hosts alive. Let's see how many drones he lost. Not very many at all. I think Liquid Snute is actually looking pretty good right here, and he's going for another expansion as well. Now his resources lost, they're not doing too good. He obviously lost a little bit more than the Protoss player, but his supply is looking pretty good. And I think I just saw a Viper come out. Yeah, there we go. Hey there. Vipers are obviously going to be really good against Colossus. Will Snute actually add on a Hydralisk Den? Yes, there we go, Hydralisk Den. So he is going to be going for a more prototypical Roach Hydra Viper to combat the Protoss ground late game. And that is just one of the most deadliest compositions that Zerg can go for. Not to mention, he's already got Swarm Hosts on the field, and Evolve Enduring Locust is currently on the way. Now, without Evolve Enduring Locust, these Locusts actually will not reach the front door of the Protoss player. They will need that upgrade to be able to last that long. And as you guys can see, that upgrade basically extends the range of the Locust. For now, it only can go this far. But once that upgrade finishes, you can expect to see those Locusts starting to apply some pressure on this Protoss army. Now, Nara, he's got to figure out what he's going to do, because I feel like he's behind. But you know, he just now grabbed the 3rd base. I think he needs to think about switching into getting some Stargates, because late game Protoss is all about, these days, I feel like, going into Stargate to combat these Storm Hosts, to combat the Vipers. Now, you know, Colossus, they don't cut it as well anymore. You need Tempest, you need Carriers, and oh wow, great abducts right there. Although, good play by Nara to drop the Time Warp before the Mothership Core went down, and now he's gonna force through those Hydras. What a beautiful play by Nara! And he says, alright, fine, you wanna abduct my Mothership Core, eat some of this. And he force fields those Hydras as well. That was a beautiful play right there by the Protoss player, and has allowed him to actually just take out a huge chunk of the Zerg army. But is it enough for Nara to stay in this game? He is now somewhat healthily mining off the 3rd base. Not fully mining off of it. I'd like to see a Maynard some probes over there. But he needs to make a push right now, I feel like. He needs to try to push the Zerg army back a little bit, give himself some breathing room, but be careful, because Snute is coming around the top side with a bunch of Speedlings, and these Zerglings are going to be able to wreck this base. The Protoss army has to be recalled home. No Mothership Core to warp them back right away, and a lot of probes have gone down, 13 probes to be exact, and this Nexus might fall as well if the Protoss army cannot save the Nexus in time. Shields are dropping, shields at 10%, shields at 0%, shields are down, and the structural integrity of the Nexus now is about to fall apart. Wow, he saves it! Unbelievable save right there. He actually dropped all the force fields he could just to get the Zerglings off the hull of the Nexus, and that Nexus is in critical mode right now. Nara is gonna have to keep, I don't know, I think he has to make photon cannons, make a wall of gateways or something. Be very careful right now, Protoss player, because if you are not, you could take a lot of damage, you could lose that Nexus. But he's actually using hallucination here to try to make a super push. He's got a ton of Colossus, the six Colossus to be exact, and a couple of hallucinated ones as well. He's gonna try to go for a GG push right here. Will it be enough? There are a lot of Vipers here from Snute. Snute can get a couple of good abducts down, then he should be able to take these Colossus out of the game, and he abducts them in, but you gotta be careful, don't abduct them all at once. He actually grabbed a hallucinated Colossus. He grabbed 2 hallucinated Colossus, which is not bueno. He just lost his entire Zerg army. Ooh, wow, Nara with big GG plays right there. That was really cool, and actually Nara is going to get the victory as well. Snute is forced to GG. Wow. I actually really like the idea of going hallucinate in order to counter the Vipers and their abducts. You can see there that 2 of the Colossus basically were abducted for really no reason at all. They were just yanked in, and they're not really the real ones. So that was a great push by Nara, and I mean, it all came down to holding off this Nexus. Like, literally, it was just about to die. So just a beautiful game right there. I'm going to show you guys some of these tabs real quick. All across the board, you can see the Protoss player actually spending a little bit less in economy and technology, but at the end of the day, that doesn't matter if you got the W. So very nice job by Nara, and I hope you guys enjoyed that game. Just a quick one. Once again, if you guys have any sick replays, feel free to send them in to me, HDreplays@gmail.com. Wow, actually, Snute never got muscular augments. Oh, that actually is pretty huge. And, you know, usually Roach Hydra Viper is a great late game composition, but if he never had Hydra Speed, it's actually, I didn't even notice, but if he never had Hydra Speed, that is a big reason why he was not able to hold off this push. You need to be able to micro your Hydras back and whatnot, so I think that was probably one of his undoings there. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next cast. This is HD Starcraft, and I am signing out.